What's up everybody? Today we're at the track. We got an acceleration and speed workout. So we got free lap cones set at 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 meters. We got the free lap e-starter at the beginning, and we're gonna use that to start our sprints, get some times here, and work on a few technical aspects of our sprint. Now, first things first, we wanna get a good warm up, so we wanna make sure we do a little bit of jogging, skipping, some ground-based mobility work, sprint drills, accelerations. All that's gonna help make sure that you're ready for the demands of the workout and that your body is in good shape and you're not gonna get hurt. When we do a good warm-up, not only are we warming up our body from a temperature perspective, we're also warming ourselves up in a coordinative perspective, so we're making sure that our movements are in a good place. We can check in and make sure my hamstring's good, my adductor's good, hip flexors, all that stuff. So that way when we get into the workout, we don't have to worry about getting hurt. Then what we wanna do is hop in the blocks after you've done some accelerations from a standing start. We want to hop in the blocks and do some pop outs. So a pop out would be you get in the blocks, you load up, and maybe you do the first step, second step, maybe you do 3 steps. We'll do about 5 of those to get started, so that way you're tuned in to the block start, but you're not fatiguing yourself by running a really long distance. Then once we hone our start in those pop outs and we know we're good to go, then we can go to 10, 20, 30, and beyond. Now, if you're a fairly well-trained sprinter, the workout you can do is 2 to 10 meters from blocks, 2 to 20 meters, 1 to 2 to 30 meters, and 2 to 3 to 50 meters. If you wanted to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you could do that as well. But for me, I like to warm up with the shorter accelerations, then lengthen it out a little bit, so I'm getting both acceleration work in and speed work in the same workout. Now, obviously, you could switch those up and go acceleration one day, speed on another, but I like to blend work together. Sometimes I'll do acceleration, finish with the speed endurance rep. My perspective on that is that we want to work on the skill of acceleration, we want to work on those energy systems, but we don't want to neglect speed or speed endurance. So if we're in an earlier phase of the year and we're doing a short to long program, one way that we can ensure that we're working on speed and speed endurance without doing too much of that volume too early in the year is you can throw in a little bit of speed work or a little bit of speed endurance work in with your acceleration training. Now, as far as technique and cueing is concerned for this workout, a couple things I was focusing on. As far as my start, my focus was on quick, then push. So what do I mean by that? That means when the gun goes off with the free lap e-starter, I want my first foot to come down quickly. I want to get that foot down really quickly. Then I want to start pushing aggressively after I've made that first contact, and push, push, push. You want to build momentum, build as much momentum as you can as you're going through the sprint. So that way when you're down toward the end of the race in a 60, 100, or a 200, you have a big wave of momentum that you can ride and you're able to just maintain that speed from there. We don't want to necessarily over push on the first step because we might have too much air time coming out of the blocks and that's going to slow us down. So I'm focusing on quick to the first step, get that foot down. We don't want to cut off our push. We want to get that foot down as quickly as possible. Then we want to push very aggressively, build momentum, push, push, push. Then as you start to rise by 20, 30 meters and you're in upright sprinting, then my focus is just on letting that leg float through to the front side, attack down aggressively, and let my arms swing nice and relaxed, but getting that elbow to come back like this. We don't want to flail the arm out way long like that. For some people it might work, but for most of us we're going to benefit by keeping that elbow a little bit locked in place on the back side so we can quickly get it to the front side. That's going to allow the other leg to quickly swing through so we're not lagging behind our body. And we want that thigh to float through. We want it to be nice and easy. We don't want to force hip flexion. We don't want to force hip extension. When you're running super fast, if you're running 11 meters per second, 10 meters per second, you don't have time to focus on pushing hard down there. This is the time to push hard, here early in the sprint. So by working on this longer distance, it's not super long, but by working on a 50-meter sprint, you get all the factors of acceleration, transition, and speed all in the same rep. So quick to the first step, push, 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 and rise. Once you're rising and you're getting into upright sprinting, that's when we want our frequency to be really getting high. Our frequency will start to top out somewhere between 40 and 70 meters. So when we're down there toward the end of the sprint, we want to make sure that we're letting that frequency happen. We're not forcing it, we're letting our body move as fast as it can through relaxation, good elasticity while we're on the ground, and just letting that leg cycle happen. And if you do that, if you get the first foot down quick, you push really aggressively to build momentum, and then when you're in upright sprinting, let your legs cycle, let your arms cycle. If you do that, you're probably going to run fast. Now, once you've completed the workout, There's a couple things that you can do as far as other exercises. One, you can do stiff ankle hops or pogo hops to work on elasticity, getting off the ground quickly, and getting a pretty good volume of elastic bouncing in at the end of your session. Another thing you could do is vertically oriented med ball throws, where you're trying to get off the ground as quickly as possible, launch the ball up as quickly as possible. That's a good way to finish the session as well. You can do a little bit of stretching if you want. You don't want to stretch too intensely, but you could do some light stretching at the end of a session. The other thing you can do is, if you have a lot of energy, you could go to the gym. So what type of lifts would work well with this workout? You could go to the gym and do low box step-ups. You could do quarter squats. You could do something that is relatively quick, but still relatively heavy. And then you can pair that with some other exercises that either target the ankle, like a bent leg calf extension. You could do some type of hip thrust activity to work on the glutes and hamstrings, an RDL to work on the glutes and hamstrings. You could do some shoulder work if you want, but you don't want to get too crazy with the lifts that you choose. Just think about, what are we working on today? Okay, we're working on acceleration and speed. So if you want to focus more on the acceleration part, maybe you do more squatting type movements. That could be box squats, quarter squats, depends on what time of the year you're in and where you are in your progression. If you want to focus more on the top speed part of this, and maybe you did more 50s compared to doing a lot of 10s and 20s, that day might be better to pair with low box step-ups, pogo hops, band-assisted pogo hops. Anything where you're working on that stiffness in a taller position, that's going to be more relevant to the speed work we're doing. Whereas doing things from more of a deeper position, like a squatting movement, that might be more relevant for acceleration. So depending on what you need to work on and where you need to build up your race the most, you can decide what you want to pair with this workout as far as lifts are concerned. But just try to think, what is going to pair well with the workout based on what I need to develop most? And from there, you can start to line out, okay, this lift is probably going to be more relevant to acceleration, or this lift is going to be more relevant to top speed. Same thing with your jumping movements. If you're working on top speed, probably want to focus more on pogos, drop jumps, band-assisted pogos, things like that. Maybe you could do jump squats with a bar where you're trying to reverse really quickly off the ground. Whereas if you're looking at more of the acceleration phase and you're trying to work on that, you could do jumps like concentric box jumps, or something where you're getting more into that deeper squatted position, more of a power-oriented movement. Whereas when we're working on top speed and we want that to be our focus of our lift, we want it to be more reactive, shorter ranges of motion, faster time to peak velocity, and those sorts of things. So hopefully this gives you an idea of a good workout you can do, some cues that you can focus on, and other exercises or lifts that you might be able to pair with this workout to make it most effective. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Cody Bidlow with SprintingWorkouts.com and ATHLETE.X, signing off.